Does staff want to do the roll call, establishment of quorum?
Sure. Chair Simmons,
I'm here.
Vice Chair Gardner, TC Member Markham,
Present.
TC Member Olvera,
Present.
TC Member St. John.
Shall we have a stand and have a moment of silence, and then we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance? But I would think about all the crappy stuff that's going on in the world right now. Okay, and then maybe something good. We're getting rain and we're in Central Coast. Would someone like to do the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Does any committee members or staff have any special announcements? And also that could be from the public, I believe. Anybody? No? Okay. Is anybody in the public, do we have anybody from the public here that would like to make any comments about anything that's not on the agenda? Okay, no comments. Do any of the committee members have any ex parte communications to report? No, I have none. Richard's here, so we have a full quorum now. We already had a quorum. Hi, Richard.
Hi.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from our meeting on October 18th, 2023. Any second?
I have one tiny correction, maybe. Let me find it. Oh, yeah. On the first page. So on item 4, special announcements, the date is shown as October 26, 2024. Probably that should have been 2023.
I think so. That
Yes.
we already had that meeting.
Right.
Page 4.
Just a minor.
Okay.
correction of the date.
Apart from that, any second?
Yeah, a second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Second.
Go back. All right, now we're going to move on to the public hearing about the continuation of the Marina Station tree removal permit TP 2304, which we continued from the last meeting. I believe we have a staff report.
Yes. Thank you, Chair Simmons. Just a brief staff report. And before I get started, I do want to bring your attention to a small correction in your staff report on the draft tree committee resolution. In your staff report, the fourth recital that's referring to CEQA citations is incorrect in your packet and actually should be corrected to read, the project is exempt from environmental review per section 15304 of the CEQA guidelines, and is in compliance with the certified environmental impact report prepared for the original project, which was how your previous staff report was referenced. So I don't know how this little glitch got in the resolution, but that said, I'll just provide an update to inform the committee about what has been done since your last meeting, which was on October 18th. So just a refresher, the original proposal sought to remove 11 trees throughout the 320-acre Marina Station property. And at the October 18th meeting, your committee received public comment and deliberated on the proposal. And as part of the comment, the applicant team, who's also here tonight, provided some feedback and additional information. And then there were 2 members of the public present for that meeting who also testified. As part of the discussion, the committee asked if there was a possibility that the Third Millennium Partners, also known as the applicant or developer, would be able to modify their grading plan for the area that is part of Park 7 that was identified on the map in the original staff report. And in an effort to retain several of the oak trees that are kind of up the hill, higher in elevation, and on the east side of the existing Marina Coast Water District storage tanks. So that was the main discussion. At the committee's request, the project team and the project engineer did go back to the drawing board and move some grading details around to better accommodate the committee's request. So that they did redesign the layout for the Park 7 a little bit, and we provided their revised plan for you in your packet. And then also at that meeting, the item was continued to a date uncertain. So we were required to renotice this meeting, which we did. We sent out postcards to the neighborhood and published a legal ad and posted on site in 3 different locations. Just so interested parties could attend this meeting tonight. So included in your packet is a graphic of the revised plan. So where I'm also showing on the screen here, you can see where the contours have been pretty dramatically shifted so that there's more space retained at the top of the elevation, kind of closer in elevation with the existing water tanks, in an effort to retain several of those mature oak trees up there on the top of the hill. And then also down to the southwest of the property. The original proposal proposed removal of 7 oak trees up in this location, generally speaking. And this redesign is able to protect 4 of those 7, but the applicant team is still proposing to remove 3 of those just because of the difficulty and the constraints having to do with the grading. So I also did want to point out that you all received an email from Nick, your tree committee liaison, today that included a correspondence from a member of the public. So I did want to point out and have in the record that we did receive 1 piece of correspondence. It's up there. I think you printed them out for, yeah, so there, you all have a copy in front of you. I did send it to the applicant team, so they're aware as well. again, here is your CEQA finding, as I just clarified in the resolution. And then I'm of course open for any questions you might have. If you have questions of the developer team, they're here as well. I do see a member, at least one member of the public who might be interested in testifying. There's another member of the public who might be interested in testifying. And then lastly, we do have a recommended motion for anyone on your committee who would like to make a motion if it is indeed to approve or adopt this resolution of the tree committee, recommending that the community development director approve the project as amended. And that closes my staff report. Again, if you have any questions of the developer team, they're here. And I'm here for any additional questions.
Thank you, Allison. Actually, that is a question. Are you guys, or is the developer team planning on presenting any information, or you go ahead? Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, Michael Katie from Third Millennium Partners. No, we didn't necessarily have a presentation prepared, but our civil engineer and the arborists are here, and along with John Ingram, who's our Vice President of Land Development. So we think Allison presented it pretty well. Obviously, we made an effort to kind of meet everybody halfway. We appreciate you guys meeting tonight because we know this was not a scheduled meeting, and so we appreciate the commissioners and staff time to take their time to come and meet tonight and get this done in hopefully an expeditious manner for us. So we're here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Is it appropriate to ask questions now or wait till our,
It might be best if you open it up to public comment,
Okay.
and then you can close the public hearing after that, and then
okay, we'll do
go
that.
around.
Is there any member of the public that would like to make any comments about the proposed tree removals? And state your name, and what else do you have to say? But, yeah.
That's not on. Okay. Do it again. Thank you. Alistair Rod, Monterey Bay Estates resident here in Marina. Let me begin by thanking the developers for reflecting and making some changes. I appreciate the effort. I would like a little bit more information. I didn't get the packet, so that's my fault. Which trees are being removed and why those trees are being removed, in terms of whether it's because the root systems are in the way of the grading, or what the reason is. But just to say that I appreciate the efforts and think that 4 trees is better than no trees. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Alistair. Allison or Nick, do we have ability to project the grading plan up on the monitor?
I can project the slide that I have.
There's probably 2 that we want to see. I think the actual, the new grading plan, that one. Oh, there you go. You got it. And then the actual removal trees that are numbered. Could we ask the engineer to, would that be okay to ask them to go through it?
Andy, do you have a thumb drive or anything you want to show? Okay. It's okay.
Hi, Andy Hunter, Whitson Engineers. Maybe I can help answer your question.
Yeah, just, I think the committee and members of the public here would like to hear how you went about this and
Sure.
what criteria you used to include, leave some trees out. And the trees that are still scheduled for removal, what's your thinking there, and just go through what you did.
Sounds good. So I'll refer to the slide on the screen. I'll also refer to the arborist report, the revised arborist report, the figure 2D. I assume that's in front of you there in your packet. So all the black lines that have this S curve that you see on the screen, formerly those were pushed up against that very bold black property line previously to maximize the usable park area. And as we discussed last time, that's where the trees were, and we took some steps to figure out how we can still plan for a park in this space, but still fit in the contours and see how we can work around the tree. So starting that bottom left corner, there's a circle there. That's tree 404. So right off the bat, we were able to move the contours to the right. I'm going to just use the directions here to the right to save that tree 404 in that bottom left corner. Then as you move your way towards the top of that screen, you can see this new Crescent Avenue extension and the contours there. We pushed them all the way over to right behind the sidewalk and started that slope up. So obviously this is a tank hill. There's a hill there. And so we're consolidating those contours adjacent to Crescent Avenue. So we pushed that slope as far over where we could and sloped up. It's a 3-to-1 gradient. There's this is a sandy site soil, so that's about as steep as we can reasonably go. There I am. Oh, thanks. Okay, it's about as steep as we can reasonably go to, have a sustainable hill on that edge. That was able to allow us to have trees 402, 403, and 406 to stay out of their canopy, out of their root zone. But trees 401, 405, and 407 were essentially in conflict with the remaining slope. Patrick can help attest to this here. I believe, get my numbers square here, 407 was one of the trees we also identified, had some discussion over last time that wasn't in the best of health. So that was in one of the conflict areas. And then, so really just leaving 401 and 405 that were the most easterly of the grove there. And we're just within the slope that we had to connect up to the top.
Well, we have the engineer. Do we have any questions for him?
What's the total footage of elevation gain on that hill?
It is around 12 feet tall, I believe, in this space. We are still, working through, what the park will look like here, but yeah, I hope to utilize the space at the top of the hill as well. So yeah, today the hill that you might see out there extends off, to the east, and as Crescent Avenue extends northerly, the slope is getting consolidated at the edge of the road.
I believe you answered this already, but I'll ask it again. What's the degree of incline?
So I refer to it as 3-to-1, so that would mean 3 feet horizontally to 1 foot vertical.
And is that a industry standard for that particular?
Well, it is, and based, on our experience in the area, but we also defer to a geotechnical engineer that helps us make these decisions about slope stability. And so you get a good cohesion and not some erosion. If you try and cheat it too steep, it will just erode away and fall back to its natural state.
Any increase would be something that would require some type of structure to keep the hillside in place.
Right.
Okay.
3-to-1s tend to look a little more natural, a little more pleasant. You would see them in nature more often than something vertical.
Any other questions from the committee members?
I just have a statement. I know these are oak trees and I know that oak trees do not like to have their root structure changed. So even though I would like to save those, I know that moving of this ground and soil in their root structure, they'll eventually die. So that was a consideration.
Through the chair, could I remind everybody to be sure your mic is on and you're speaking into your mic?
It's on.
Thanks.
Was that a consideration when you're talking about, because it's right on the edge there and I know
Yeah,
that.
maybe I could ask the arborist, so he's coming up. Yeah, I think that's a question, maybe between the two of them.
Yeah. Yeah, so the industry standard and it's been accepted by ISA and ANSI standards, which are the baseline for tree work. 25% can't be impacted, raised, lowered, cut, anything like that. And those three fall within the grade. So they're on the hill, essentially.
More than, it looks like
Yeah.
100%.
It'd be 100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any other questions? I think we will discuss what we're gonna do, unless if there are no more questions for the developer. And we will. Yeah, the public, well, wait a minute, did we close the public conversation yet? Did Alistair, we didn't close.
Yeah, I don't know about.
Well, you already had you had less than 3 minutes, but if he had a question, could he come back? He didn't use his 3 minutes.
It would be great if formally we could close the public hearing since
Yeah.
you've now received testimony from your one person.
Well,
but-
it's just that he had specifically asked about understanding the plan better, so there's another comment, there's another period of time for comments, actually, so we after we discuss.
Right, so the public gets an allotted public
Yeah,
testimony
yeah.
time, and then that's closed for the
Yeah.
rest of the meeting.
Well, I guess what I'm asking is it appropriate, since I had invited the developers and Andy to come back up to talk, really based on Alistair's question, so I guess we can address that in our own comments.
That would be preferred.
It's on the agenda, before we make any action item, I think there's another period of public comment if we make a motion, so if I'm reading this correctly. Okay. Do any tree committee members have any thoughts or comments about what we should do? I'm gonna make just one comment. This won't be part of a motion, but I'm just going to say, and this is really speaking to the tree committee. One of the things that I wanted to do with our work this tree committee in our next 2 years is to think of ways that we might be able to have considerations about trees be the first thing or one of the first things for any new developments. And so we have a legacy here. I mean, this was decided back in 2007. So that's one thing. And so we're limited in what we can do. And really do appreciate the developers taking the effort to try to redo their plans. In my analysis, my brief analysis, I've tried to make myself sound smarter than I really am, but just what I see in this situation is both sides are kind of locked in. The city agreed to a plan in 2007. The developers are coming forth and trying to make this project happen. And there's certain constraints, and some of the constraints are the original requirements of the plan. And we have certain requirements for parks, for example, and the numbers of amenities. And so there's kind of a calculation that has to happen. And there's really not that much room to make changes. And so I do appreciate that the developer listened to us and agreed that this is something we could look at. And they've come back with a proposal that's much better than the original proposal. So I commend them for that. But I'm just want to highlight that maybe that's something we could think about is like at the front end, of these kinds of projects? Can we have an emphasis in our tree ordinance on making sure that trees or natural environment is preserved as much as possible in new developments? Everybody says they want that. We're dealing with legacy of way things were decided. But I think it's time to have a look at that, and maybe we can have some small influence on how we do these things in the future. Having said that, again, I am pleased that the developers were able to change their plans. Any other comments from anybody?
I did have one comment, mostly addressing the homeowners that live near this area that were present last time about the experience of having those large oaks near where they live. And I appreciate that the developer and the applicants work on this to try to save more trees, but the 401 and 405 trees are the most prominent that you see when you come into that area from Crescent. And I think it will be a loss to lose those trees. They're quite old and actually, I think, quite beautiful. 407 is not in great health, but 401 and 405, at least in my layperson's eye, they're pretty amazing trees, and I am saddened that they're going to have to go.
Go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, Richard St. John. I want to just make a comment that I'm very much appreciative of the Millennium developers, your arborist, your civil engineer, for going the extra mile for us and saving 4 of the trees out of the 7 that were on the agenda for taking a look. Very much appreciate. What I'd like to expand a little bit is that of those 4 numbered trees, they represent 15 tree trunks, because it's some of the trees or all of the trees in that group that were saved have multiple tree trunks. Some as few as 3 and others as many as 5 or 6 trunks. And the trunk diameters ranged from 5 inches to 16 inches at the, what is the waist level or chest level? So they're significant trees, and so it's just to say that 4 numbers got saved from the cutting block is really 15 tree trunks that, you know, kids and adults would count the trees as 15 of them instead of just 4. So it was really a very successful second look at things, and I really appreciate it from the city. So thank you very much. That's right.
Any other comments? I would like to just, since we're here, just ask a question. If it were possible to say save a tree like 401, and given the development we have in this circumstance, what would that look like? What would have to really change? Would that be like a retaining wall or something like that, or what? Just out of curiosity, if something like that were possible, what would that look like? Now, I'll ask that question to Millennium.
Andy Hunter. Well, so I happen to be turning to figure 2D.1 in the packet. It's in the back of the arborist report there. As you can see on that figure, there's these symbols for the trunks that are graphically shown, and you can see the conflict of the contours and how they, sorry, this figure 2D.1.
That's the grading plan. Yeah.
It's got some of the numbers overlaid with the contours. It's a nice, in the aerial image, it helps put a lot of this in context. So 401, 405, 407, you can see the symbols from where the trunks are graphically shown, but you can also see the little clouded line and barely fainted underneath in the imagery of where the canopy extends. Essentially, that canopy is for those trees is pushing all the way back, to the street. So as Patrick was alluding to there, to be able to save the trees, that slope just really can't be there. It would have to, in a flat world, without the vertical change, they obviously can, fit in that parcel, but it's with that vertical change, the entirety of that slope would have to go away. So it's not like you're just looking at carving a little bit around the trunks, but I think you'd be, talking about a very high, the whole slope would have to be just all wall, which would change the dynamic of yeah. So if that, I was estimating that is 12 feet high. So it essentially at the edge of the sidewalk, you'd have a 12-foot wall, and really just change the dynamic of what might appear a natural slope with the tree canopy above. Instead, it's a structure.
Okay, thank you.
Just a quick follow-up question. With adding that 12-foot wall, would you also be adding fill?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's a
Could
very,
could the roots stand a change in fill level?
well, I'm trying to describe a situation without cutting the section exactly through that, but
Oh,
certainly there would be some disturbance on the surface to build a wall. You can't just draw the line and build the wall and say the ground behind's not touched. So there'd be some disturbance to the roots, and to build the foundation for the wall that extends back. So it'd be a temporary disturbance, put it back to the way it was, and hope the trees survive. I often refer back to a situation at the Del Monte Shopping Center. There's all these, by the movie theater, there's all these holes in the ground, but had walls built around them. And at one point there was a tree in them, but since they've all died. So.
Okay, thank you. Any other last comments before we start to talk about motions? Well, I can propose a motion. What? Where is it?
put it back on the screen.
I'll put it back on the screen. Let's see.
She writes good motions. She turned the motion I made last time and sounded much better than what I said.
There you go.
I'll make this motion. I moved to adopt the Tree Committee Resolution 2301, recommending that the Marina Community Development Director approve tree permit 2304 as modified based on findings, conditions of approval, a class 4 CEQA exemption for minor alterations to land in consistency with the EIR for the Marina Station project asserted by the city of Marina in 2008. Any second?
I second.
All those that vote in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
I think the entire tree committee is very grateful that Millennium Developers, as we discussed, were willing to do this. And I think we might have some work before us to figure out, is there something we can do to try to, can we lose the park and keep some trees? Maybe that would be a trade-off that somebody might want to do in the future. Let's go back to the agenda. I was misreading the agenda. That was public comment on other action items. So Well, we're done, actually. Oh. Um, we can talk to the arborist after the meeting. Another tree? Was it a matter before us? You want to go ahead and turn on?
Oh, that's on clarification. And it's very east on the property, and I'm wondering if it's a very large oak, and I'm wondering if it's not on the proposed property, because I don't see it on here.
Where is it located?
East south corner near the PG&E line. So I'm assuming it's in the PG&E property. You know what I'm talking about?
Does the tree have a number?
It's not on the maps. That's why I was wondering.
Is it close to any other number?
No, yeah, I can see it on the map on
Is
the
that just a
outside.
A
Yeah,
shade? Yeah,
That's
that-
outside of their
that
property
it?
line. No, that's outside the project.
That little green.
Yeah, that
dash?
blob by 2D.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure, but I went and looked at the property. I go, okay, this one's not
Yeah.
on there. Okay, because all that property is PG&E property?
I'm not sure.
There's power lines. Okay, all right, that's all I wanted.
Okay. We don't have any other action items. Number 9, no items for number 10, 11, or 12. I move that we adjourn this meeting.
I second.
Okay.
Thank you very much, tree committee.